Oh, hey, I'm going to do a video here on how to set up limited media server in a Windows environment. So you can stream media, well, to your local area, and also you can stream it to mobile via station in the future. So the first thing you do is you need to go to mgatelabs.com, my website. Then I have a thing up here for apps. There's limited media server. All right. Then just scroll down. Then there's this section for how can I run the server? Run the pre-built Windows. You can also build it from source, but let's just go with the pre-built Windows ones, which are typical. So let's open these 4 links. I need to clean this up. All right, so what I want to do here is I want to download limited media server. So right click, save link as, do that there for the media server exe. Then also save this limited media server control.zip. And also you want to download the FFmpeg release essential zip. Then also you want to go here and get YouTube DLP, the latest version of it, and get the exe one, save that. So now via magic, I already have downloaded all those files and I have a sample folder too. So what I do is I'm going to copy my limited media server over into a folder that I'm going to call the app folder. This is where I'm going to install my app technically. So put the server over there. I'm going to go into the control zip. I'm going to copy all this out and then put it into my where I'm going to put the app. Go back over here. I need to go into my FFmpeg, go into this folder, go into the bin, copy just the FFmpeg exe, and then paste that over here next to the app. All right, and then let's get out of here. And finally, copy over YTDLP and put that in the same folder. And now at this moment, the server is actually ready to run. Now you have 2 options. You can either just run limited media server. You can double click this and then it's going to make a little window, or you can run the limited media server control app. Now I'm going to use the control app because some of the features, it's nice to use this versus this, because if you shut the server down, it shuts down. But with the limited server control, you can actually restart the server in real time, which is nice. So let's go to just double click this. Now Windows is going to get angry because this program has not been code signed, because I just haven't done that yet. Unknown publisher, it's me. If in the future this gets more popular, I'll think about signing these things, but run anyway. All right, and now if you notice the folders changed, things have happened. That's good. So the server should be running at the moment. So I'm just go over here to my browser and type in localhost. All right, and now I'm on the server. What I need to do first is I need to firstly sign in. So I'm going to just type in admin, the defaults. And now what I'm going to do is I need to set up the properties. So I'm going to go over here to management property listing, and there's 4 properties I need to set. I need to set the archive folder. This is where files are going to be stored that you don't need quick access to. So like if you've watched a series, you can then archive them just to put them onto another hard drive. So basically, take them off of your fast storage and put them on your slow storage. So let's just update that. Let's go do primary. Primary is where your previews are going to be stored, and also where files you want to see quickly are stored. So let's just say update. Basically primary storage should be on an SSD drive, like a non-moving drive, and archive should be on a spinning drive. All right, temp folder. This is where if the server needs to do any work, it's going to do this work in this folder. You should probably put it on your SSD so it doesn't waste time, thinking. So just do it there on a fast drive. And lastly, you want your server volume folder. Now the server volume folder is where books are stored and book previews are stored. So this probably should be on a fast drive. And this is also just so that you can move things around. So, you can split your data on different drives. So not everything is, in one spot. And then also you can then use use a faster, smaller drive for your primary storage and use a slower disk for your archive storage, like a 7 or 8 terabyte drive, just to have additional storage. All right. So I've done the properties. So the next thing I need to do is I need to go over here, management, and then restart the server. It says restart sent, waiting for the server to be ready. So in the background, it's restarting, and there it went. So now the server has been reloaded. It will now understand more. So now I need to go here, management, user listing. Now, I did say in the documentation, you should go in here, say new user, and create a brand new user. That is actually the best thing you can do. So then you can then delete the admin account and then, have your own username and password that no one else knows. But for at the moment, I'm just gonna go back and use the admin because this is just an example. So admins, or I should say, every user has features. So here's the feature: manage app lets you do all this management stuff I've been doing. Manage books lets you manage books. You can add and edit books. Manage media lets you literally manage media. You can add folders, add content, add files. General plugins lets you use general plugins. Utility plugins lets you use utility plugins. Book plugins, the same, but for books. Media plugins, you can use media plugins. View processes lets you view running processes, which there are none. View books does what it says, lets you view books. View media lets you view media. Bookmarking lets the user create bookmarks, like internal bookmarks, not external bookmarks. And then hard sessions is a nifty feature where if it's turned on, the user can create hard sessions on different devices. So let's say, for example, on the MetaQuest 3, if I was accessing the site via the browser, well, typing in the password is a little inconvenient there. So with the hard session, you can actually create a PIN for that device. So when you sign in on that device with that PIN, it'll just let you type in, a 4-digit, 5-digit, 6-digit PIN, go. And then if you ever try to type in the wrong PIN number, like if someone's trying to guess your PIN, the PIN on the server gets destroyed. So, once you fail once, you got to log in normally after that. And then this is a important feature server because ratings. So you can give each user a different rating limit. So by default, users are given the G ratings. They can only see G-rated content, and it goes all the way down to unrated. So for me, I'm setting my volume rating to unlimited. I'm going to set my medium rating to unlimited. So that means I can view all content, basically on the server. And then also there's this group thing. So you can create a group, then you can assign a user to a group, then you can assign folders to that group. So only people assigned to that group can see that folder, unless you're a managed app user. Managed app users, they're super users, so they get to go and do anything that they want. So that's the basics of a user. So let me update. Now let me sign out. Just log in one more time. And now if you noticed, these widgets showed up because I have access to my volume service and I have access to my media service. So here's my recent books, here's my recent media. So if I recently viewed a book, it'd be here. If I recently viewed media that was under unrated, then it will show up in here. Now let's just go quickly do a little demo. So what I want to do is I want to add content to here. Now, one rule about the server is all content needs to be inside of a folder because the root folder is not really a folder. So let's say new folder, and let's just call it sample, create. All right, now I have my sample folder. I'm going to go over here. I'm just going to drag and drop my files into the web page, and now they're being uploaded into the server. So now I have my files, but if you notice, there's no previews. So what I want to do is I want to go over here, plugins, folder, generate previews. And I'm going to say, let's put them at the 20% mark. Force lets you refresh previews for some reason if you want to. Let's execute it. and it's finished. It took about 1 second to execute. It says it was executed by me. It was generating previews for this giant folder name, which is the same up here. Now if I go back here, there's actually previews of my folder. And then this system is built so you can have, hundreds of pages worth of content. So I'm going to go down here and set it to 10. That's only 10 items per page. So now if I click on, let's say, the first item here, I can use the arrows to then navigate between the images. I can use this random button to basically jump to a random image. And then one limitation server is like, let's say, if I get here and I hit next, it goes to the first one, not the next one, because it only knows the images that are in this current page. So if I want to go and, let's say, view a video file, let's click this one. Let's preview this or mute the sound. But basically, as this video plays, it's going to keep track of the time every 25 seconds. So if you notice here, there's this little purple bar. That little purple bar is your current progress of where you are in the video. So just wait till it hits 25 seconds. And if you notice, this little purple bar just jumped. So this is where I was last viewing this content. So if I click it again, it pops up and it resumes where I left off. If I go back to the home, then recent media is saying that, hey, I was recently watching this. Click here. It pops up here. So, that's how you can use it. And also one neat thing is, let's say I'm over here. I'm viewing a file like this one over here, and then I want to go somewhere else. Well, this player is still working from the previous place that it was at, which is a nice feature. So you can literally have content, if you had a bunch of music in a folder, you can pop up one of the songs, and then go somewhere else and it will still be playing, which is nice. And then if for some reason the server gets into a weird spot, like something isn't working, you can go over here and you can refresh, and that will then force it to refresh the current page. And then that's the basics of the server, at least how to do media. There's more advanced things, but I'll go over that in a later video. Thanks. I'm gonna go over some quick tips on media management, because once you get files in here, you may want to move them around. So one thing you can do is, let's say, for example, I made a second folder. I'm gonna call it sample2, create. All right, now I have two different folders. The folder one has stuff, folder two has nothing. So what if I want to move some files from here to there? How can I do that? Well, I can go into the split view mode that actually is going to open two folders the same. So let's put sample on the left and sample2 on the right. So now I'm going to go over here. There's this little toggle selection mode. I'm going to choose a couple files. Then I'm going to then use this icon over here to then move the files. All right, so now content has shifted from the left folder to the right folder, which is good. And then one thing I'll show off is, like, if I go here, like, here's that video file I watched in a previous video. I'm going to move it to the other folder. It still has the percent of where I left off watching it there. So, like, even if you were moving content around that you've watched, it will keep track of where you last saw it. And then if you want to erase content, you can use selection mode again, and then you can use the delete selected files here. Or you can use this archive button here. And basically, like, if I say archive selected files, you notice here it says archive, 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 primary, primary, primary. So these three files have been put into the slower archive drive. I can still click on them and it will play them. I can still navigate left and right with them. The app doesn't care. It knows where to get the files from. So that's the basics of file management in this thing. There's still more you can do. Like, you can go into the plugins. So let me get out of here. Like, plugins, there are plugins that are also for media specifically. Like, you can use import folder. This lets you, like, basically ingest a folder. So, like, if there was a folder with content on your PC, you can import the folder and it will move all that content into here. And that is a one-way move. So if you want to still have content outside, you need to basically make a copy of it. Then it will ingest the copy. That's one idea. You can save video from M3 U8 file. These are popular files, or actually streaming files that you can't seem to download. But if you can get a URL to the M3 U8 file, this thing can actually ingest them and then output MP4 files. Then also you can save videos, save music from a certain source. And then if you're saving music, you can then do this thing called deduplicate music, because when you download stuff, it will attempt to, based upon the chapter names in the file, can make it into multiple files. It will then sanitize the files by getting rid of the postfix and the prefix if there's multiple of them. And then you can use this deduplicate, like if you had a whole bunch of music in a folder, to then go through and like basically delete duplicate songs. You can use burn subtitles, and this is a nice little feature that will basically let you, if you had MP4 files and SRT or VTT files in the same folder, this will then match up the VTT or SRT files with the video, reburn, and then basically burn the subtitles into the content and save it as a new file. Then check integrity is basically make sure like everything links up. Usually you don't need to do this nowadays. Move folders, not important. This is just a holdover from the past, because now you can move the folders with the selection tools. Generate previews lets you basically make previews, and this is the folder version. There is also in the top over here, if you notice, there is a big version. So this will actually generate previews for the whole system at the same time. And then down here at the very, very bottom, there is update MP3 tags. Like, so if you were downloading, and if you had a bunch of music in a folder, you can then use this to then update the various aspects, like change the genre, album, year of the files to make them more consistent. All right, I think that's the basics of media management. If you have any questions, you can ask. I'll go into books later. Thanks. Oh, hey, this is Michael. I'm going to do a crash course on books in Limited Media Server. So the first thing you need to do is you need to actually make a book. So when you go into the top right, say new book. All right, now some of these things are not important, but let's go over the main thing. Book ID, this is going to be the name of the folder. So I'm going to just call this sample in lowercase. All right, now the book name, a nice book. So that's the name of the book. Now the source, this is going to be an offline source. Basically, it means this is going to be a local only version of a book. It's not going to try to go onto the internet and download things. So then let's say also the display style, there's page or scrolling. So if it's page-based, you see one page at a time, click on the right side, go to the next page. If it's scrolling, it's one long image, basically the end. So we're going to go page-based for now. Books can have a rating, just like previously. So when you add a book, you want to give it a rating that is appropriate. And then think about the people who may also have access to your server and what their rating limits are. And then this is in case it was going on the internet, like, if you was a inactive book, don't check it anymore. Skip chapters is if it was going to download things, then basically, hey, this chapter there's an issue with it, skip it. And then it needs to have a info URL, just because the system needs to always have one. So I'm just going to just create a link to itself. All right, so now I have created the book, and actually, if you notice here in the top, I'm actually in the book editor now, so I can go back. So I have a book, but it has no chapters. So what I need to do now is I need to make a book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all these PNG files over here, go into my demo storage. Here's my volume folder, which I set up earlier. So I need to make the folder for the book. So go new, make folder. It was called sample, so I'm going to also call it sample. It needs to match up the same as the ID of the book. And now I need to have chapters. So there's two ways to do chapters. You can either do like chapter -1, or the easier 1, 2, 3, a 4-digit number. So this example, this is chapter 1. So I'm going to go over here, paste my files in here. Now the files need to be PNGs. That's just a rule. And also they need to be 3 digits. So 001, 002, 003. Typically I would just go write a Python script or ask the ChatGPT to write me a script to rename all the files in a folder, with a specific format. That usually works out pretty well. So let me just go up to 7. I don't need to go all the way. So now I have added 7 pages to my book. I go back over here. The book, there's nothing in it right now. It doesn't know anything because it hasn't been synchronized. So what I need to do is I need to go over here and you say update cache. I'm going to say execute. And it has built the book. Okay, so go back. All right, now if I look here, it actually has chapter 001. It says on red, I have not read this chapter yet. And then so I'm going to now click on it. Now I'm actually viewing the book. I click on the right side, go this way, click on the left side, go back. As I go, this little bar on the top shows me my current progress. If I go back to here, the listing of chapters, it says I'm on page 3, so I know where I am at the moment. And then one nice feature is, let's say, this little edit button. Now this is a editor for the book. So let's say if the first file was not actually part of the book, it was some sort of logos or something, that you can then delete it. And then it will then erase the file. That's good. And then let's say, for example, there was a logo in the top of this file. You can use this split image button over here. It opens up the split image editor and it has this little slider. So as you slide it, you'll notice this image changes, and then basically it will if I hit split image, it's going to cut the image in half and throw away the top part. So let's say I get it all the way to the top of this cat head right there in the picture, and I say split. Are you sure? Yes. Well, now if I look at it, the image has been cut. It's been split. And if I go to the last image, it does it the opposite way. It says keep first. So usually the first image will have something at the top, the last one will have something at the bottom. So you can use this to then cut out part of the book that is not actually part of the book. And then there's one more feature which I can't show working, but here is how it works. It's called merge. So if I click this icon here called merge image, then it's going to show you a demo here, hey, what if I put this image underneath this image? And then, you can then see if they lined up right. And if they did, you can hit merge images and it will actually take this image, put this one underneath, and then delete this image. So it'll make this image grow taller, which is handy because when this thing generates previews, it'll generate previews from the first image. So if you had a scrolling book and then the first image, didn't have enough stuff on it for it to make a nice preview, you can make it bigger so it'll have a nicer preview area to grab from. And then once you make a change, if you notice here, this image is wrong. It is still the wrong preview image because the preview is saved differently. So you need to go over here, update cache, and say clean previews yes. All right, that's how that works. But then if you notice here, the preview is still wrong. The browser has cached the image. Usually what you do is you'd hit shift and hit refresh, and that would reload. But in Edge right now, it's not doing it. So I actually need to use this mode over here and then clear it now. And now if I reload it, it's showing the correct image here. So that's the basis of the book management system. It will keep track of what chapters you have read. If the book has multiple chapters, it'll keep the individual progress of each chapter that you were on, that you were reading. If you are at the end of one chapter, it'll go to the next chapter. There's features over here to let you sort, filter, blur. Like this book, I think was unrated possibly. So I go into blur G. Okay, now if my blur rating is set to G, any content above G will be blurred. So, it makes it more harder to see. That's the basic idea of the media server. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.